Hello and welcome to Below the Shoreline, a Chance Encounters Dungeons and Dragons mini campaign. Had to make sure I got that out of my mouth correctly. My name is Eric Munro Schwan. I'm going to be your DM, joined today by some of the usual Chance Encounter crew. We've got Asteria.
Hello.
We got Ian Frost.
Oh, it's me.
And it feels silly to refer to you guys as guests because I think you've been in about 10% of our content at this point. So members of the Chance Encounters family, we got Jon Webb.
Hello.
And Sam Rutledge.
Hello.
Hell yes. So
Friends.
this is going to be session 0. This is just going to be us kind of feeling out our characters, getting to know what we're all about, and then just doing a little bit of combat, but nothing is canon until it is said in episode 1. So a little bit of background about the setting before we hop into getting to know our characters. This is a original setting that I'm coming up with. We are going to be mainly on an island called Maralone, which is on the very most northwestern tip of a continent called Kamino in the Kaminian Empire. And so this island, for a very, very long time, was kind of unoccupied. There was eventually a group of sea elves that we'll be meeting later who took up residence with a giant sentient coral reef on the island, but mostly people from the mainland kind of steered clear. So eventually, it's free land, it's free real estate. Some pirates came through and started putting roots down, and not just pirates, but just outcasts from society. So we have like religious zealots, political prisoners, dishonorably discharged sailors, all come to this island and kind of set roots down at the outskirts of an empire. Generations pass, and the children of these original dastardly settlers decide to implement a tourism industry into the island. The continent of Kamino is about to hit what we would call an industrial revolution. And so there are ships coming from all over the world into this port. And the islanders on Maralone are like, let me get a little bit of that cash. So now there's a full-on tourism industry on this island. It's like a weekend getaway for people. And our story will be starting at the Winnowing Festival, which is a harvest-type festival in which the kind of fun added element that this island does is that they take all the chaff and the runoff of what they've harvested, and they create outfits that are evocative of Karamatria, who is the primary goddess of this world. It's kind of a Mother Earth figure. So they're harvesting, giving thanks to this goddess, and people are starting to come from all over the world to see this festival. So that's the finer points of what we are going to get into. Now let's hear from our characters. Is there anyone who particularly wants to go first?
Not particularly.
Do you want me to roll a d4?
I mean, from a selfish standpoint, I would love for Jon to go first, since we've been talking back and forth already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jon, are you fine with that?
I'm definitely down to go. I'm definitely down to go first.
Okay.
I'm definitely not looking at the Google Doc right now to remember.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
To remember all of the backstory stuff we talked about.
Do you want me to drop a link?
No, I'm on there now.
Okay, tight.
Let me see. Because I know I'm a part of a ship liner, but I forgot.
Yeah, you
hand me.
So
one of those
Jon's
envelopes.
character Bene is first mate on a
Yeah.
ship called the Golden Hour.
Right. I guess I can introduce who he is and then
Yeah.
go into all the other extra stuff. So, hi, I'm Jon. I'm playing Bene Anjaro. He's a half orc. He's born and raised on the island. He's kind of like second generation. Just he's always lived his life on the island, and he's like a he knows all the people, walks around. He's in the tourist zone quite a bit. He works on a ferry that called the Golden Hour that like takes people to and from the island. He's kind of like the first mate on the ship, and he's like he's kind of like the people person on the ship. He's very lazy, doesn't really like he like navigate, he can do all the work, but he's more just like, I'm just gonna go hang out with the people and make sure everyone has a good time on the ship.
Sorry, I forgot to mention this. This ferry goes back and forth to the port city of Schwan, which sits directly across from one side of the island. And for most of the week goes once in the morning and once in the evening to bring people to work, but over the weekends is going continuously. Sorry, keep going.
No, yeah, absolutely. I definitely remember that too. And let's see here. I don't need to get into like the NPCs that he like.
Not really. Yeah, you have Captain Yasli Nuzu, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yasli Nuzu, who's an older female half elf who's the captain of your ship, and then Qell Lightfall, who was kind of your sword master, who taught you how to fight.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He is a multi-classing type. Mm-hmm. He is a fighter barbarian. Technically a samurai, but you know, I'm trying to tone down my weebness. So so I will just acknowledge that he's a fighter and a barbarian of the depth, because you know, fitting.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean he's just a lovable, lazy, sarcastic person who I just truly, I feel his alignment is chaotic good, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I love that. I love Bene. He's kind of, would you say he's someone who kind of dances through life?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He's,
do many people every day need to like be ferried from the island to the other island? Absolutely. Is that Benny's problem? Not at all. Like, hey guys, if you need to get over there, there's other people who can help make that happen. Yes, it's my job, but
But this is an island full of other ships as well.
Yeah, it's like, we're not the only ship that can get you there. Like, so yeah.
Perfect. I love that. And I'm going to be asking all of you kind of group questions at the end of this, just to get a little bit more information about your characters.
Sure.
But Asteria, would you mind going next?
Yeah.
Would you like me to grab notebook?
Yeah, I need a notebook. I should have had this notebook so I could write all of that down, but I didn't.
All right, I have a notebook here.
Scoops.
It's like,
this one has pandas on it.
Watch
nice.
And just so everyone knows, I'm going to be making notes on my phone, so I'm not texting. Don't worry about it. I'm not just on my phone.
He doesn't care about us.
Okay, so Bene. We're now talking about Calanthe.
Yes.
Or Calanthe.
Anyone, I don't think she cares. As long as it's like you're saying it as you think it should be said, as long as it's not like Corona or something, which I've been called personally before, okay.
What?
In real life? They thought your name was Corona?
In the past year, hopefully not.
No.
They saw an A and an I and were like, that's 2 O's.
Yep.
To be fair, I've gotten like Ains before.
Ain?
Like the dog food brand?
Sometimes you get an Ain.
So I'm gonna actually.
This is my boy Ain.
I'm gonna send in our real life group chat. I'm gonna send a couple of reference pictures, but So Calanthe is, if I could find the group chat, I'll do it later. Calanthe is a half tiefling, half water genasi. So I sort of created a new sort of origin that I'm calling the coral tiefling. So she is coral pink. She has light blue hair that is in tiny braids that go like cascading back down her back. I think she has big, pupilless golden eyes. And the most striking things about her, other than those things, is she, one, has a scar and an eye patch over her left eye, and she has what would be antlers in any other sort of sense, but they're actually little growths of coral that come out from her head.
So sick. I didn't know that.
That's so cute.
And she likes to wear burgundies a lot, so she'll usually be found lounging in like a burgundy sort of pirate blouse looking thing and like capri pants. She was an ex-pirate, or she is an ex-pirate. I actually think I'm going to shorten the distance between when she mutinied and now. So I think it's going to be closer to like 6 years.
Perfect.
So 6 years ago, she was on a ship with Captain Godric Barclay. Didn't know that he was like the worst captain ever. So bad that she and some of her crew felt like they needed to mutiny against this man. And so in this world, even if you mutiny for good reasons or it's a reasonable mutiny, the fact that you did mutiny sort of brands you as like not trustworthy. So she had a hard time finding work, and so she just moved to Maralone because they was pretty much the only place that would take her in. And along with her, she dragged with her her two simps, Chadney and Kyleson. And so the three of them together run the like sea tour, scuba tour part of the tourist trap.
Yeah, it's called, I think I have written down above board Bayside Cruises, which you can feel free to change if you have another idea. But yeah.
Isn't that very similar to like the tours of like the buses in LA? Isn't it like
That's 1,000% what it is.
Yeah. I love it.
They're on a catamaran with a glass bottom, and
I love it.
They're just cruising around.
So she is a Circle of the Coast druid. Her love language is violence, so she loves to start brawls in taverns and stuff. And yeah, that's sort of what she does when she's not doing her job. She's at a tavern, like drinking, hanging out, fighting someone. And most of the time, like if it's not with a tourist, she's fighting because the other person wants to fight for fun. Like it's not like she's not being malicious, it's for fun. But yeah, that's Calanthe.
Aww.
God, I love Calanthe. I'm still reeling from the coral pink and the coral kind of like horn things. That's losing my mind over that.
Now that I'm not talking, I will send it in the thing so you guys can see.
And Chadney and Kyleson are going to be just a joy to play. Ian, do you want to take us away next?
Sure. So I'm playing Qell. Qell is technically a sea elf, but you'll never hear him say that because his people don't really refer to themselves as elves anymore. They haven't for generations. His people are called the Ashakmar. And the Ashakmar are a race of people who have deep, deep, dark blue skin. Think like Mystique from the original X-Men movies, that kind of deep indigo shade. He also has big black eyes, like big ink pools with no irises or whites or anything. Kind of a slitted nose, big gills, kind of that frowny sort of fish mouth that comes up on the sides down here. Very chiseled, kind of long features with big pointy Vaporeon ears. And I think the most striking thing about him and about his people in general is that he has, instead of traditional hair, he actually has these sort of jellyfish tendrils that grow out of his head that look kind of like hair, but they're bioluminescent, and they sort of sway around when he's swimming in the water, and they glow in the dark, this like shade of kind of pink purple. I think maybe it can glow different colors depending on his mood. Maybe I think would be kind of fun.
It's like a mood ring. Oh,
That could be fun.
That's cool.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like expected to be controlled by his people. Like normally they can control their emotions being displayed by their tendril color, but he doesn't really care. So, and most of the time, he's basically just like wearing a vest, or just a very simple, like largely cut out sort of sleevey thing, with his little arm fins left out. I think he's got webbed fingers. I think he should have webbed fingers for sure. And he's always seen carrying around his 2 blades on his back, which look sort of like in the shape of question marks. They kind of go up and then curve around like this into kind of a hook. And they are made of this super hard, super dense coral material. We were talking about coral already. Lots of coral in this party. But it's this like ultra shimmering, sort of multicolored, very hard coral material that's been sort of chiseled down into these blades that he carries. And Qell is he's had an interesting life. So the Ashakmar, if you don't mind me going into them,
go for it. Hit it. Yeah.
So they are the sea elves that Eric mentioned earlier. They live off the coast a ways in a city underneath the water, and that city is actually just a giant sentient coral reef, and it actually has a connection to all of the people who live there, to all of the Ashakmar, and it shapes itself into this city and forms all of their houses and all of these different things. They live within the body of this giant creature, and it's this sort of mutual respect, symbiotic relationship that their culture has with it, and it is called Guardios. And in exchange for living there and being sheltered and having this protection by these huge gates that even come up out of the water that you can see from the island, what they do in exchange is that they protect Guardios from people who come seeking its power, because it does have a certain amount of power. And in every generation, it chooses one person to imbue its power with, and this generation that person is Qell, much to the chagrin of the current Elder Council, because he is known to be just a little bit reckless, and is yet unclear why he has been chosen to do this job. But his job is essentially to act as an ambassador for Guardios to some degree. He's meant to be sort of this secret operative, protecting his people from threats that may come from on land. He's meant to be doing this in secret, but he became enamored with human culture very quickly, or with Drywalker culture in general, and quickly realized that unlike in the Ashakmar society, where duty and honor and protecting your people, protecting your culture, fighting for the innocent, all of those things are so ingrained in their culture, they don't really celebrate it or tell stories of heroes. It's just what they do. So when he got to the island and started interacting with Drylanders, his first instinct was, I can get credit for this. People sing songs of their heroes and like love the people who saved them. That's awesome. So now he does his work very publicly, and has been in some big major battles that have got him a lot of attention. So he now mostly hangs around in taverns and like on the beach, and he just loves talking to people and interacting and talking, telling all of his great stories of his great battles and showing off to some degree. That's not to say that he isn't good at his job. And I guess I should leave off on the idea that he is in fact a Hexblade Warlock with an actual piece of Guardios that he is using as his weapons.
Lovely.
I have a question.
Ooh, yeah.
Who does Qell have a pact, or is his pact with just like his people and like his home?
Like a warlock pact?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's Pact of the Blade.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the blades that he uses, the weapons that he uses are actually pieces of Guardios that Guardios is allowing him to carry around, and that represents his connection. He's essentially the only person that has a direct line of communication with Guardios and can speak freely with it.
Gotcha.
And all the CLs can communicate to some extent, but like, Guardios, mind, body, and soul.
You're like the Pope.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like everyone can talk to Jesus, but you're the Pope. You have a direct line.
Well, the funny thing is he has no political power. He has no pull.
Like the Pope.
Or if he's supposed to, he doesn't use it. He just wants to go around fighting pirates and stuff.
Like the Pope.
Oh, that's good. I love that. And how long? This is something that I don't think you and I have actually talked about yet. How long do you think that the Sea Elves have been near this island, or kind of have had their main base be near Maralone? Because I think they were definitely maybe there before the pirates started showing up, because that was only like 2 generations ago. What do you think?
I think this is probably where they've always been, or at least for a very long time. They might have even been here before the island, or before people settled on the island. And for a long time, like in their history, they just were like, don't come here. We don't care about you. We're going to leave you alone. It wasn't until probably, when did you say that the pirate issue started really happening?
2 generations ago, maybe 3 generations ago.
So it probably would have been, it would have been around that time that they, suddenly there are drylanders near them, and there are drylander problems near them as well. So they're realizing that there are like pirates and people who are polluting the ocean and people who are poaching in the ocean and like doing all of these things that are directly harming them and harming the sea and the ecosystem that they're sworn to protect. So it was during that time that they emerged and were like, we need to cut a deal of mutual protection so that we like you kind of stop people from coming and checking out Guardios and trying to take its power for themselves. You help us do that, and we'll help you with your problems and these pirates and other things, because that also benefits us, because we don't want pirates and poachers here in our waters either.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think there's on the island, there's a kind of sensibility of like, if you come alone if you're a pirate who is on your own or with a small group of people incoming, you're fine and maybe you can stay. But if you're bringing your whole crew, and it seems like you're kind of just passing through, you're not as welcome if you're a pirate. Yeah, because they're still trying to stay kind of like above board but below radar. And
on the whole, the Ashakmar do not generally, even now, allow people to cross into like through the gates and into Guardios. Again, it is a very like consensual symbiotic relationship that they have. So other people entering their home is like other people stepping into the body of their leader, kind of their god in a way, and their home all at once. So it's very personal, and it's very like, we're friends kind of, but don't come here.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that we'll see this in the first session, but it's kind of above water. It's these big coral gates that kind of surround. It's like a gated community, and there are gates on each cardinal side. But if you hang out around long enough, you'll see that the gate can actually open at any point in the coral, and the Ashakmar can come and go as they please. It's like they live in a very magical gated community.
Yeah.
Which I think does that feel like it's about it for
yes.
For now? Okay, so Sam, you and I have not had as much of a time to touch base over the past few weeks, so we're still kind of building. What are you thinking?
While sitting here, I basically came up with my whole character concept.
Mm-hmm.
So where should I start? Lucius, Marius Lucius.
Marius, yes.
Marius Lucius is his name. He is a teenaged human boy with scraggly red hair and a little bit of red fuzz going on, but it's really not much. So I guess we should start with Marius's adoptive grandfather, Rhubarb. So
Rhubarb? Hell yes, hit me with it.
Rhubarb is a turtle, and he is a zealot for the deity Valcour, who is the patron of sailors, ships, favorable winds, and naval combat. Rhubarb is a bit of a nut for this patron. He has a very, very personal connection. Rhubarb lives in a abandoned lighthouse. Where was the Vushan, which is the big port city nearby.
Yes.
Right on the coast. There's an old kind of decrepit but still slightly upkept lighthouse that isn't in use anymore. There's like a much newer one further down the road that is actually operating. But Rhubarb owns this old lighthouse, and through this lighthouse he basically runs like a little temple for Valcour, and he has like ship hands and all sorts of different sailors coming in, and they can get a warm meal, they can get some an extra pair of clothes if they need it, they can spend the night on a cot if they don't have anywhere to go. Rhubarb is basically just a community servant for all the different sailors and even pirates that come through, and he'll do his rituals and he'll like bless them all before they go. And the sailors love Rhubarb because they always he makes like the best meat pies that you've ever seen. And one day a little baby showed up on the doorstep of his lighthouse, a little human baby boy, and had his birth certificate, and that was Marius Lucius, but the name of his parents were kind of scribbled out kind of hastily. But he knows his birthday and the time of birth and where he was born, but he doesn't know who his parents were. He grew up in this temple, hearing stories from all these different adventuring sailors and pirates and all sorts of colorful characters, and he became fascinated with these stories and would collect books of famous adventurers and famous expeditions to unknown places, and he developed a passion for these kinds of stories. So when it came around time for him to kind of get a job of his own, not just hang around, to actually make something of his life, he decided to apply for a job at the city's biggest newspaper. And sure enough, he got a job. His first assignment is going to Maralone.
There's nothing more adventurous than the pursuit of knowledge.
Exactly. So he's a little nervous. He hasn't really been through much. Pretty unexperienced when it comes to going around on his own. He's a little nervous as Poppy Rhubarb isn't with him. But he has been trained in the ways of being a servant to Valcour, even though Marius he's more afraid of Valcour than he is actually a devoted servant, but he loves his Poppy too much to ever say anything kind of derogatory.
He's God-fearing in the most literal sense of the word.
Exactly. In that he is just a little guy who does not want things to get out of hand, but they often can.
I love that. So is Valcour, is that something you came up with, or is that an official D&D patron?
It's a Forgotten Realms deity, but
Gotcha.
we can play with it.
We might just switch out the name, and that might just
Sure.
be all we do. Yeah. Because the backstory is perfect.
Mhm.
And I think that god would specifically be the god of this ocean that we're near, which I don't have a name for yet, but this specific one of the 4 or 5 oceans in the world. But yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
How old is Rhubarb?
Well, he's a turtle, so I think Rhubarb is actually a character that I have played at one point.
Oh, hell yeah!
So I'm kind of repurposing an old beloved character of mine. He's about like 120, I think.
Tight. Okay.
But I'd say by now he'd probably be like 150.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so that means are you an artificer or a trickery cleric?
I'm actually going to be a Tempest cleric.
Yes!
Ooh, yes!
Tempest clerics are so good.
Yeah, they're
nasty.
fun. So
okay. That sounds
really heavy.
that sounds fucking great to me. So do any of you guys have any questions? I have a few questions I want to ask all of you, but do you have any questions for each other before that? It's okay if not. I just wanted to throw that out there. Or me.
I have a question. for Calanthe.
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 Yeah.
Right. And okay, Calanthe. Where, like, as a pirate, you've kind of been all over, and if you don't want to get into it because this may be spoilerific, but like, where are you? Like, are you like from near here, or you just been traveling the world?
Yeah. I don't know if your character would know this, but Calanthe was up until the point that the mutiny happened, was a pirate for her entire life from day zero. So she's been everywhere. Yeah.
That's dope.
You know those baby pirates you've been hearing about? Yes, that's and cool. we can if you Asteria, we can develop where you're from as well. If you want to do that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there'll ever be like a place singular that she's from, because
you were like born on a ship, basically, kind of. Wow.
But there's definitely a place that we can sort of put for where their dad is from.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. First question. This doesn't apply as much to Marius, but for those who live on the island, and Marius, maybe if you hang out in the port of Ushan, you do know two of these guys. But do you guys know each other and or hang out? Because I think, and this is okay if this is not what you guys want to pursue, but like Bene would definitely see Calanthe in bars and stuff, and it's probably like thrown down for fun with them.
It sounds like all 3 of us hang out largely in taverns.
Yeah.
But we're all doing very different things.
Yeah, it's like we all like, it's like when you go clubbing and you see that person who you don't know them, but you're like, I saw you here last weekend. It's like, cool. Same person. Like, we're not friends, but we all like.
I'm aware of your existence and your place in the world that is close to me, but we don't really interact that much.
Right.
I'd say that you guys would probably know about Rhubarb, just because he gets around and he's super involved in the community. But maybe not as much Marius. Maybe you would like recognize him if you've ever like been to the temple, but otherwise, I'm just a kid.
I'm very interested in the dynamic now that there's the idea of there's a god of this ocean, the Ashakmar are going to have an interesting time with that because they're not going to subscribe to that, and they've been here longer. So there's going to be this like, or not longer than the god, but longer than the humans have been here.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a very strange dynamic. So I was thinking, like, Qell probably knows at least about rhubarb and might have like stopped by, because he's traveling all around doing hero garbage,
Mhm.
But the matter of like, does Qell get along with this man that everybody else loves? Because the mere idea of like, you think you know the god of the ocean? Okay.
Totally. Yeah. To a certain extent, rhubarb can be very overbearing with his like I said, he's quite the zealot. So I'm sure he's ruffled a few feathers here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're in terms of how the kind of religious landscape of this specific continent, not the world at large, is set up, but the predominant religion is Terramatrianism, so like the Mother Earth thing, but there are regional, smaller, not demigods, but smaller gods that can get hyper-specific based on where you are in the world, but generally reflect the region the smaller region that they're in. So I think that it's very reasonable for them to have kind of a sea god. There's a circle of what we would probably call like fairy stones on Maralone itself that all look like this Triton kind of figure who the people on the island have referred to as kind of the sea sun. But maybe it is also, maybe that specific figure might tie in with Valcour or however we choose to name them. But yeah, so there's definitely like aquatic gods within this, or perceived aquatic gods within this region, debatable depending on which group of people you actually ask.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing with D&D all the time, right? Is that like, how do you make atheists in a D&D setting? Because there are people that have the power and like direct connection to their gods, So I feel like all of the gods that all of the characters subscribe to are objective fact. It's just a matter of being like, or like mine is better,
Yeah.
Honestly, like when I was making Bene, I was like talking to Eric about how like, oh, like he doesn't believe in like ghosts or anything. But then I was like, while I'm making the character, I was like, oh wait, that kind of can't happen if I'm a barbarian of the depths, where like the dead people who like are helping me do stuff. So it kind of doesn't make sense. But like, nah, spirits aren't real unless he's just like so obtuse that he thinks he's just doing everything. And I was like, nah, that doesn't sound.
Spirits are real as there are spirits just like flying around you.
Yeah, it's like, nope, it's the wind. It's like no.
He's just got such a inflated self-confidence,
right?
That's me. Like that's just my ability.
Right. It's like not quite, buddy. Not quite, buddy.
How old is Bene?
I think, what did I put? I think I put he was 21.
21.
Yeah, he's 21. So he's like a youngish guy. And I realized that when I was describing him, I never said anything about his appearance.
You can lay that out. You can lay that out now if you want. I mean, we'll be saying it again in the first episode too, but
sure. So basically he is a half orc, but what I wanted to do, because it's like an island setting, I thought it'd be cool if, how usually half orcs are green, but I wanted him to be a bit more of like a tan or bronzish kind of like orc, and he has like shaved sides, but his hair is like kind of a blondish, dark brown blonde type of hair.
Is it kind of sun bleached, like people who surf a lot? Yeah,
exactly. Like he is like, usually when you see in half orc, they're like green, but he's just this like very muscular dude. But it's like, if you just looked at him, you'd think he's a human just because he's like tan, but no. And also, he usually half orcs have the 2 teeth. He broke one from being dumb, so now he just has one little tooth that just like sticks out. And he rocks these like white shorts that maybe are like thigh high. You know, they're not like booty shorts, but they're just like, you know,
but they're getting to the booty.
They're not like cargo jeans or shorts, you know. So they're like a happy medium, and he just wears these like very fine. I mean, he probably has a rotation of just like Hawaiian shirts, and he's very much. Also, I would say 9 times out of 10, when you see him, he's wearing sunglasses. Like what look like
hell yeah,
like Ray-Ban sunglasses. Like he looks like he's like always ready to go hit the beach. You know, I love it.
Such a good dude. He's just here to have a good time.
Dude, Benny's just trying to have a good time, man. He's like, you know, it's like, yeah, he will adventure, and honestly, he's pretty, like, I think I said this before, he's pretty lazy. But so the fact that he's been able to not only be a fighter, but also a barbarian, and like have any sort of like drive to do anything in life is pretty amazing. I forgot his master or sensei or whatever is this dude Terrell, who's like in the outskirts of town. I forgot where he lived. The marsh.
He lives in basically alone in a marsh. The only other people who live in the marsh are the Lost Men, which are a bunch of sailors who are cursed by a sorceress to look like children and live forever.
Yeah, and he found
those are the only two people who live in the marsh.
Yeah, and he found happiness and peace there. So, you know, that says a lot about who his master is, who is like, I want to be alone forever. And then Ben's just like, what up, dude?
Terrell, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Terrell is also like, within this world, about 100 years ago, maybe a little bit less, there was kind of this massive world war, and Terrell is definitely a veteran of that war. So he's just kind of trying to live out his life in solitude. And then Bene comes in and is just like, yo, teach me how to fight.
Yeah, he's like, yo, old man, teach me how to fight, dude. And he's just like, he's like, no. But he just like constantly just kept showing up, and eventually was like, okay, I guess this kid's pretty all right. But very much so, it's very annoying. Like it's like, I guess I have to do this. I have to repay my debts to all the people I've murdered somehow. And I guess this is how I'm doing it.
So he is like doing heroing stuff. Like he's going around fighting monsters and bad stuff on the island.
I would say, yeah. So like I would say, you know, previous to where we drop into you know, the story, I would say like anytime they're like on the ferry and like random like sea monsters maybe attack the ferry, like maybe like he protects everyone, or like when he's just like walking along the beach and someone's like trying to rob someone, he's like let's go, and he'll like protect people. But at the same time, you know, it's like he loves people, but he hates like systems. Like anytime there's like
so good. Wait, I need to write that down.
which is, I mean personally, that's how I feel about a lot of things. So like
same.
Yeah, so he's all about the people. Like that's why I think he would know. He would probably know pretty much everyone. He wouldn't know Marius, and but like, just because he goes back and forth, like he's definitely been to the temple. He knows who Rupar is, but doesn't like interact at all. But he's just like, cool. You guys have a religion? Tight. I don't fuck with it, but cool. You know?
I feel like there's no way that Bene and Qell are not crossing paths in the field.
Oh,
because they're both out there. Like anytime like some monster is attacking the island or something, they both show up and they're like, what are you doing here?
No. It's like the Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other.
Like either they're friends or they're rivals. You know what I mean?
There's so many.
Either is I'm so down with.
I feel like they act like they're friends, but at least on Quell's end, he's gonna be a little bit like I was gonna fight this monster. What's this guy doing here?
I think they could be friends, but I think that like, I won't speak for Qell, I'll speak for Bene. I feel like Bene will definitely not just cannot compute of like so like, why don't you just like leave your people? Like, just go and like do your own thing, man. Like, why are you like tethered to like, you know, this like religion? You know, he's like, dude, just be your own self. And you're like, you know, I don't know how.
I think therein lies the wall between actual friendship. Where he's just like,
Right. It's like, you're your own person, man. Just like, just do your own thing.
I feel like the relationship is one of those things where it's like when you meet someone who's actually pretty similar to you, but you just can't fucking stand them.
There's
like,
there's a term for that.
What is it?
The narcissism of small difference.
Whoa.
Yes. And it's literally what it sounds like. It's like when people, you know, you ever like been in like, I mean, this has never happened to me. Have you ever been in a drunken argument where you're talking about the same thing? Like you both are saying the same thing, but for some reason you both feel like you're not like on the same page?
Absolutely.
I don't have to be drunk for that.
Right. Right. Narcissism of small difference. That's I think that could sum up their relationship.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would think.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be very interesting.
On Calanthe's end, I don't know if Bene reciprocates, but like she's ready to bro down with him at any point.
Absolutely.
So I think they're the better friends out of all the four of us. Yeah,
I could see that. I could see that Bene's just like, yo, like every time Bene just walks into the tavern, he's like, so I know who I'm buying drinks for.
And I think you guys, since Bene, you run the ferry and are bringing visitors into the island, you'll like recommend above board cruises,
right?
And so there's kind of like an understanding back and forth that you guys, you're just homies and you help each other out. Yeah.
A synergy. I love it.
Quell's gonna get along best with Marius. Yeah. Because even though you serve the wrong water god, at least you respect the ocean, and that's your main thing. So like, we're gonna get along great.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and you guys are gonna have interesting stories, and so I'll just be picking at you to spill your guts.
God, yeah, you're gonna be his favorite. Anybody who asks Qell to tell a story, he's like, well, let's go.
Calanthe was almost a drunken master.
The party comp is very interesting.
The party comp is extremely interesting.
Honestly, I've always been of the mindset of like, if you do like a water themed D&D campaign, it would get a bit like everyone's trying to be like a version of a sea elf, you know? But honestly, there's a lot of like things that work in this.
I was gonna say the Final Fantasy vibes that are happening. I'm feeling it too, and it's like kind of Final Fantasy X. Is that the one with Titus?
I mean, Bene is almost like he. I mean, honestly, originally Bene's last name was gonna be Waka, and I was like,
gonna say,
and I was like, nah, that's a bit
it's too
on the nose.
But like the loins that Final Fantasy X sprung from is Chrono Cross, which I don't know if you guys have played Chrono Cross, but it's like. It's this kind of the spiritual sequel to Chrono Trigger, but I actually like it better than Chrono Trigger. But the beach energy and vibes on that series and the way that fantasy looks and the music, if we were allowed to use Chrono Cross music, we'd be doing it.
That'd be sick.
Sam, when you said Tempest Cleric, I immediately flashed back to this one shot that I did where I was a Tempest Cleric and another party member was a druid, but they were pretty new to the game, and so I basically taught them how to dual cast, call lightning, and kill everything.
Whoa. Oh my gosh!
I got so excited thinking about that moment and being like, "We can do that here too."
Dude, yeah, max rolling, thunder damage.
Yeah,
it's a fun package. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Yeah. Yep.
Have fun, Eric.
Cleric
Have
is my
fun,
favorite
Eric,
class.
making these encounters.
Oh yeah, I was worried that I was gonna make him a little bit too hard, but now I am not worried. I'm not gonna turn them back.
That's always the downfall of a DM. You're like, oh, I don't want to make this too hard on them, and then halfway through the first round, you're like, they only have 15 HP left. Legendary action, I guess.
Yeah, balancing that stuff can be hard.
Yeah.
That was one of the exciting things about seeing that this was going to be a level 10 game, because we don't have to be like, our backstories can actually be kind of chunky. Like we can
Yeah,
actually
for
be
sure,
playing
yeah.
characters who are established and doing things and are considered heroic already.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
So I have like 2 more questions, and then we'll take a little break before we hop into the little role play session that we're gonna do.
Cool.
My first question is, what are you guys afraid of? What is each of your characters' biggest fear?
Internal or external?
Both.
Okay.
I want to know all the goodies.
What did I put? I put one.
I think Calanthe,
Mhm.
partly because of their literal genetics, but also their upbringing. So her pronouns are she, her. I'm just like,
Mhm.
I'm they, them. So all of my characters have to be they, them, but that's not true. It is she, her.
Yeah.
Her, like she will always feel the call to the sea. Like she will always, especially because she can speak primordial and druidic. She can't literally speak to the sea, but it feels like the sea is speaking to her. So she'll always feel that pull
Mhm.
on like a deeper level than a fucking random sailor who's like, I feel the call to the sea. Like she actually
Yeah.
feels it.
Yeah.
So I think any situation where she feels like she could permanently be cut off from being on the sea somehow, some way, shape, or form is like her biggest, like, I am paralyzed by this fear, it's her
Mhm.
biggest thing. I think external fears, definitely sea monsters, because I bet she's seen a few. And she's like,
Mhm.
those things are no joke. So we're just gonna Chadney, Carlson, we're gonna go over here as opposed to over into these waters,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that would be her biggest one.
Love it. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. This is tricky to see which one of these two things is the internal and which one of these things is the deeper internal. But I think on the surface, it would be like Qell is afraid of failing, both failing his people, but failing like his new people too.
Mhm.
Just any monster actually defeating him and being a threat. There's a sort of arrogance of like, if I'm not here, who's going to protect people?
Mhm.
But I think the deeper level is like fear of being forgotten, or even worse, fear of being remembered badly.
Love it. Okay. Writing that down. All right. Marius or Bene, do you want to try to take it?
Mine is honestly, again, narcissism, small differences. Like I wrote that like his biggest fear would be that like he won't be enough, or like isn't enough for the people around him, and so that's why he's kind of like, it's not like a chore for him to like be around people and love people and like do the things for people, but I feel like in the back of his mind, it's like he has this fear of like as soon as he leaves that like people are just like like finally he's out of here. It's just like it's just like a lot that he can be, and like I feel like he wonders like if he's actually doing enough for people, and honestly afraid to fail in a similar but different kind of way. Like he's like he wants to be there for his home, and the island.
While Quell's is kind of like he doesn't want to fail at being a symbol. You're like, I don't want to fail in my personal attachments and relationships, and also
Right.
Who I am for other people.
Right. Like
Okay.
like it's like, it's like I would think even with like Terrell, like a part of it is like, oh, I want to be a fighter and like I want to learn how to, but also it's like Bene, who sees everyone on the island. He's like, no, I can't let this person who's like out here alone on the island be alone. You know what I mean? Like, I will interject myself whether this person wants me there or not, because I want to be that person for him. You know what I mean? So it's like, he always is like, I want to be enough, but a part of him also is afraid that he isn't enough and he can't do. And I feel like a flaw of his is that like, he can't do everything. Like he shouldn't be able to do everything. And he's kind of putting that pressure on himself when, no one can be everything for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marius?
Marius is afraid of a lot of things.
Because he's baby.
He hasn't experienced much, but he's heard a lot of stories they definitely should not have heard. Might have done a little bit of scarring. Probably the thing that he's most afraid of is he once heard a story about like a Leviathan, like sea serpent type creature that completely destroyed a ship, left only one survivor, and he met the one survivor. He was taken in by rhubarb and patched up, and the guy described to him in grisly detail of how all of his friends got crushed under the weight of this enormous behemoth of a monster. So he's afraid of that specific thing. Particularly.
Completely
But
understandably.
Has general anxiety about a whole variety of things.
Eric, are you thinking what I'm thinking from hearing that story, from what we were talking about yesterday?
Wait.
So we discussed the idea of like everybody has some small magical item of some kind because we're all level 10. And we had this idea of maybe like Qell's best story that he always tells, that he always comes back to, is that there was some big Leviathan type creature or Kraken that attacked the shoreline that he and maybe some other like defenders fought against and barely came out victorious, but I don't think actually killed the thing. I think they just like beat it away and it hasn't come back yet. So, but he got, we talked about maybe a tentacle, but I'm thinking maybe a tooth that he wears now as a necklace, and it gives him a little bit of its power. Sure. But to him, that's like that's his whale. Like, I'm going to kill that thing if it ever comes back. What if it's the same creature that we're talking about?
I love it.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
So this is just this, like, it's out there,
So it would be like a well-known, kind of overly talked about creature.
A scourge of the
locally.
seas, if you will.
I just want Bene to, every time you bring up how you're afraid of it, Bene, just add on another thing. He's like, yeah, and then actually it can also shoot like fireballs out, and you're like, what? And Qell's just like, no, and I'm like, they can.
Because Sam brought it up earlier when he was playing with the idea of being an artificer, could my magic item, because I was a pirate, maybe it's not literally magic, but for the sake of like the category, could the item that I stole from my shit ass captain 6 years ago be a gun?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
a block or something.
Wow.
Yeah. What is it called? the piratey gun?
Musket.
A flintlock?
Well,
flintlock.
Yeah. Or like the big one with the wide end is like a blunderbuss.
Yeah, I think it
Blunderbuss
would be.
Okay.
I think it would be a flintlock.
Flintlock pistol.
They don't like to. She doesn't like to keep too many things on her because she has to be like free to move and stuff.
But she does keep that thing on her.
Yeah.
That thing.
Stay strapped.
Yeah. When you're running a Bayside cruise business, you just gotta stay strapped.
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna happen. It's like when the people on the Jungle Cruise shoot into the water to get rid of alligators or whatever.
I hate that ride.
I used to love
it as a child because I didn't have fear.
Uh-huh.
But as I grew up, I have this fear of being low to water because of water predators. So I'm
Fair
like,
enough.
I can't be in a kayak or a canoe, or, you know, I know logically that all of the alligators and crocodiles in the Jungle Cruise are fake. The hippos are fake.
Yeah.
Everything's fake. But I'm like, so I struggle.
Well, I guess I will nix the fully immersive session where we were all gonna go get in kayaks and play in the middle of the ocean.
We have VR set up.
Yeah,
We're gonna just wear.
Especially going to Disney World and actually seeing like alligators and stuff on the ferries. Going to the Jungle Cruise there, I think there's one there.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah, those gators are nothing to fuck with.
Yo, them gators are literally just chilling in Disney World.
Yeah.
Like they are just chilling at the resorts, just waiting on the water, by the ponds or whatever. Yeah, they're literally just chilling there.
And I love them. Crocodilians are some of my favorite animals. It's just like, I don't want to be near them because I don't want to die.
Yeah.
The last question I had for you guys was, what does each of your characters think their future will hold for them?
I mean, I can tell you Qell's fantasy version of the future. So you know that feeling when you're talking to somebody who's like quite a bit older than you, who is very like set in their perspective, and you like talk about your perspective for like hours and hours and hours, and you still feel like it's like just impossible wall of understanding that will never be breached.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately well aware of that feeling.
So that's what he feels like about his own people to some degree, or at least the council that he answers to. So in his mind, his job is like, oh, I'm the link between these two people. Like, I'm not just going to go out and secretly protect us from land threats. I'm going to make everyone aware that we're out here and that we're cool. So to him, he's like, I'm going to be the bridge, and I want to live in a future where we do let people come hang out, and where more of us come to the surface and like learn how to walk on land and breathe air and feel the salt on the air rather than just in the water. You know, like he loves both worlds dearly and equally, but he hates that they're separate and that he has to live this double life. So there's a mixture of, yes, I believe I'm going to be this guy and I'm going to make this happen. That's my future. I'm going to bring them together. I'm going to die a hero and go down in history as the guy who united our worlds. But the second thing is, well, I actually don't know if that's even possible. I've been trying this for years already, and I don't think it's possible. So I don't know if it's going to work. And that's back to the fear. It's just a driving fear. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Anybody else?
I mean, to sort of Calanthe's fear, I think she knows that she will always be on the sea somehow. I think if it's sort of like, if my fate is to be on this island doing this for the rest of my life forever, like that's not such a bad fate. But I definitely think that she like wants to be a pirate again. And the only reason I say pirate specifically is because having grown up in pirate life, she's like, these sailors that aren't pirates, they're like stuck up and they're boring. They're not like just like going out and getting drunk all the time and going bleh. Like, who wants to do that? So I think if her only option was to be a like proper sailor with a capital S, like she would do it. But I think she always will want to be a pirate because she's like, I'm just too much of a free spirit wild child. And so that's part of the reason why she never goes to Vushan, because if she goes to Vushan, she'll try to get on crews and people might recognize her. And so every time she's gone to apply to be on a crew, they're like, we know what you did. And so she's stopped going because she's like, there's no point anymore. So I think she's definitely now focusing on Maralone, but she's always like, man, if I could just get on a ship and sail again, you know?
Me and the lads getting back out into that open water. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I love that. Bene or Marius?
Can you repeat the question?
What do you see yourself doing in the future? What is the future that you see for yourself? Okay. Marius, it looked like you were about to say something.
I think Marius wants a life kind of filled with adventure, but is at the same time hesitant to get too close, you know? So I think at this point in his life, he's kind of trying to feel out exactly where his place could be. But ultimately wants to do really exciting things, wants to have interesting experiences. He's certainly not interested in just sitting around temple all day knitting blankets for the next drunk a-hole who barges in. But hey, if Poppy's down to do that, that's what he does. That's what. But Marius is more interested in seeing what there is to be seen.
I really like this dichotomy. This is at least the logical leap that my mind made, where you want adventure, but you recognize that danger is a part of that adventure. So you become a reporter. So you have to go to the places and hear the stories. But there's kind of this layer of, but you're not going to get hurt because you're a reporter.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody hurts reporters, right?
Yeah.
No.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So Bene, rounding us off.
I feel like so there's two levels. So Bene, he himself as a character, he sees his future as just growing old on the island, sitting there for the rest of his life, just enjoying the people and enjoying the life of the island. But I don't know why I separated the two. But I think there's also a layer, or like I see the future being that like maybe at some point he kind of just realizes that, you know, I think I said this here. It was like he's like the guy who graduated from high school 4 years ago but still goes to high school games. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's like, cool. You this chapter of your life is done. Like, you need to go. Like, go experience the rest of life. You know, like you can always come back home. This will always be your home. But like, I think getting Bene to not just being lazy and to like realize like, okay, like you did it. Now,
now
go. Yeah. Like go like, yeah, like go out and see what the rest of the world has for you, or like go do what you best to other folks in the world, you know, not just here on the island. Because like, you know, at a certain point it's like, dude, I mean, I don't know, it's like a weird dichotomy of like, when you live in your hometown, you never feel like you have to go anywhere because this is my house, like this is my home. But at a certain point it's like, you just gotta go. You gotta leave.
And like, while you do have peers your own age, and you know, you went into the schooling thing kind of growing up. Brain, please work. Hello? Oh, that's what it was. So the two most important kind of key relationships you have with Terrell and Yasli, they were both, they're like military, like they've lived their life, they've seen some really crazy stuff, and this is kind of how they are choosing to live their end days, is on this island alone. So while you do have peers, like you're saying, I don't think there's this this push to leave, and the people who you have your most significant relationships with are people who aren't necessarily going to push you because they're just kind of trying to live out their days. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, everyone else are just transplants, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So like
Really.
everyone else is just, you know, and I mean, oh my God, you know, true all transparency here, I am a military brat, which I didn't realize that this story was just in us talking about it. I'm like, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, I didn't move around, but I did have a hometown, and like a lot of my friends were like older military dudes, and like, but I'm also realizing that he is like, I don't know. God, I lost the train of thought. But yeah, basically that I'm seeing a lot of through line between my hometown, but it's not a nice beach. It's a small ass military town in North Carolina. It's like, yikes.
Gotcha. Well, if there are any ideas that you have that you want me to throw in during this week, please let me know. I think at this point we're gonna take a little break. If you guys want to go use the bathroom and stuff, and we'll be back to do a little role play session and then wrap up for the day.
Cool.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool.